You ever get that feeling when you're scrolling online that none of it is random? That the trends, the memes, the arguments, it all feels kind of designed? Well, you're not wrong. It's not some grand conspiracy, but it is a system. It's a precisely engineered architecture, a cultural matrix designed to shape the reality we all share online.
So how does this whole thing actually work? We're going to break it down. We're going to go on a 5-part journey, starting with the digital environment itself. Then we'll dig into the unseen filters that shape what you see. We'll look at the spells, the memes that are cast. We'll see what kind of reality gets built from all this. And finally, we'll get to the craziest part, the control loop that actually starts to shape us.
All right, first things first, we have to start with the foundation. You got to understand the game board itself before you can understand the players or the rules, right? So let's look at this engineered environment.
So, what do we even mean by cultural matrix? Well, at its heart, it's a collective worldview. The Germans have a great word for this, Weltbild, which literally means world picture. It's the shared lens we all look through when we're online, the framework we use to make sense of everything. And the wild part is, we're all building it together, most of the time without even realizing it.
The best way to think about this matrix is like an onion. We're going to peel back 4 distinct layers to get to the core of how it works. We're starting on the very outside with layer 4, the environment, and we're going to work our way all the way down to layer 1, which is the reality that emerges from it all.
Okay, and this is a really crucial point. We love to think of places like TikTok or X or whatever as neutral town squares, right? Just open platforms for discussion. But they're not even close. They are meticulously designed psychological spaces, basically mazes, engineered to guide our attention and to trigger very, very specific behaviors.
So how do they guide us? Well, they've essentially reverse-engineered human psychology. They know what makes us tick, what makes us share. It boils down to a framework called steps. We share things that give us social currency, things that are triggered by our environment, that spark emotion, that we see others sharing in public, that have some kind of practical value, and of course that are wrapped up in compelling stories.
And this is where it all clicks into place. You can see exactly how those abstract psychological drivers get turned into concrete, addictive game mechanics. That need for social currency, that becomes points, likes, badges. Those triggers? Well, those are the notifications, the DMs, the daily streaks that keep you coming back. They have literally gamified the act of sharing itself.
Okay, so we've got the engineered game board. Let's peel back the next layer of the onion and go a little deeper. Let's talk about the unseen filters, these ancient patterns that basically act like a sieve, deciding which ideas catch on and which ones just fade into the digital noise.
So what are these filters? They're archetypes. And forget any mystical definitions for a second. Just think of them as gravity wells in the vast universe of stories. Our brains are just naturally, powerfully drawn to these patterns. The hero, the trickster, the wise old mentor. They're cognitively optimal. Our minds just love them. They're easy.
Now, we're not talking about some mystical collective unconscious like Carl Jung proposed. The modern cognitive view is way more grounded. Think of archetypes as mental shortcuts, deep cognitive biases. We've been exposed to these patterns our whole lives through stories, myths, movies, and over time, they get hardwired into our brains. They become automatic.
And this is why they're so powerful. When a meme or a story taps into one of these archetypes, it's hitting a pattern that is already burned into your brain. You don't have to learn it, you instantly recognize it. And that makes it incredibly easy to process and gives it an immediate emotional punch.
All right, so we have the environment, we have the filters. What about the actual content, the stuff that passes through those filters? That brings us to layer 2, the memes, the ideas, the narratives. You can think of them as the digital spells we cast within this matrix, designed to spread and shape how we think.
Now, for any of these digital spells to actually work, they need 2 key qualities. It's not enough for an idea to be good, it has to be fit. First, it needs stickiness. It has to be memorable enough to actually lodge itself in your brain. Second, it needs virality. It has to be so compelling you can't help but share it.
So, how do you make an idea sticky? Turns out, there's a formula for that too. It's called the success framework. Your brain is just wired to remember ideas that are simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and wrapped up in a story. Nail those, and your idea will stick.
But here's the real mind bender. We used to think of memes like viruses, just copying themselves perfectly from person to person. That's not what happens. A great meme is just a fragment. It's a cue. When you see it,
Your brain actively reconstructs the full meaning using its own library of biases and archetypes. And that's why a powerful meme feels like it's your own original thought.
So, you've got this engineered environment. You've got these powerful mental filters. You've got viral ideas spreading like wildfire. What happens when you put all of that together? Well, you get the final output. You get a shared, constructed reality that we all end up living in.
And that output, that's the Weltbild, the world picture we talked about. It's not a physical reality, it's a conceptual one. It's built purely out of ideas. And what holds it all together? The constant, ritualistic things we do every day. The likes, the shares, the retweets, the comments. These aren't just clicks, they are little acts of reality maintenance.
So let's just put it all together real quick. You see how it stacks up. You have the gamified environment at the top. You have the deep archetypal filters below that. And you have the mimetic spells that pass through them. These layers aren't separate. They all work in concert to construct the single shared digital reality we experience every day.
Okay, we finally arrived at the core of the onion, the most powerful and yeah, maybe the most unsettling part of this whole matrix, the feedback loop. This is the point where the system stops just shaping our world and it starts to shape us.
This whole system runs on a principle called cognitive cybernetics. Now, the original Greek word for cybernetics meant the art of steering ship, like steering a ship, and that's exactly what this is. It's about using constant circular feedback loops to steer your perception, to steer your behavior toward a very specific goal, which is usually just keeping you on the platform.
And what is absolutely stunning is that this process, this art of steering reality, has been discovered by completely different groups of people. On one side, you have corporate influence engineering using big data to shape consumer behavior, and on the other, you have these fringe online subcultures using what they call meme magic to shift culture. The words are totally different, but look at the process. It's the exact same 5-step blueprint for hacking reality.
This all leads to the ultimate control loop, the one that targets your own identity. It happens in 4 steps. 1. The matrix prompts you to perform, to post something, to share an opinion. 2. You perform by creating an idealized version of yourself, a cyber self. 3. You observe your own performance through the feedback you get, the likes, the comments. And finally, the 4th and most crucial step, you internalize that performance. The line between your online persona and your real self begins to blur.
So let this sink in because it's the most important takeaway. Because of this recursive loop, the system isn't just influencing you from the outside anymore. You are actively, constantly re-engineering your own identity to be more compatible with the logic of the system. You're not just in the matrix, you are becoming an extension of the matrix. And that leaves us with a final, really important question. Now that you understand the architecture, the gamified spaces, the ancient filters, the viral spells, and these identity loops, does it mean you can escape? No, probably not. Nobody can really unplug. But seeing the machine, understanding how it works, that gives you something incredibly powerful. It gives you a choice. Now that you know the rules of the game, how are you going to choose to play it?